Hey y'all, this is Tom Kennedy, and I love Jross-tv.
Oh yeah, y'all hanging out with Tom Kennedy, y'all putting it down at the bistro. I mean, man, the Fodera was cutting through like I don't know what. But Mark Bass, I wasn't really hip to Mark Bass, but you had that Mark Bass sounding raw.
Oh man, it's easy to do.
Yeah. So what's up with them? Where they from and all that type of stuff?
Well, they're an Italian company.
Oh yeah.
And I actually didn't know about them until a couple of years ago. I was out with Mike, in fact, and I was in Florida. I had played with another amplifier for many years, which I'm not gonna. We're not gonna talk about. But and very good equipment. Don't get me wrong, but. I was in Florida with Mike, as I said, and we set up to do the gig. I expected my stuff to be there, and I saw the Mark Bass stuff instead. And I was really upset because my stuff wasn't there until I plugged into it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was basically a 410, 800 watt head, you know, just stock Mark Bass stuff. And as soon as I plugged that Fodera in, man, I thought that there's something really weird about this, because it's like the Fodera is communicating with the amplifier. It's like it was like this connection that was made, you know? Pardon the pun.
Right.
But you know, the thing that I noticed about it right off was just the openness in the mid-range of the sound. It was very smooth and it was very true, and it really came out when you wanted it to, and you could tuck it away when you didn't want it. You know, the cabinet as well as the head just has a real sweet bottom, a really big fat, you know, but not a harsh sound like a lot of amplifiers, you know, and the same thing on the high end too. Their preamps are very, you know, are very gentle with the high end of the instrument, so you don't get that harshness. It's more of a just a smoother overall sound. So for me, it's the closest thing for me to playing an acoustic instrument amplified. You know, for me, I feel like it just has this big round true thing, and as I change my playing, as my fingers do different things, my equipment reacts to that now, you know, in a way that I never had before.
Yeah. Now, is it heavy?
They're very light.
Oh yeah.
They're very light, and yeah, the heads weigh in at 6 to 7 pounds. And the cabinet, I think the 410 cabinet is just a little under 40 pounds.
So what about price?
They're pretty reasonable, actually, and Guitar Center carries them. And they're competitive. Let's put it that way. They're competitive with all the other stuff that's out there these days. But you know, not as much with the high end things. You know, although I've been hearing lately that everybody's latching onto these things now. You know, so a lot of people, Alain Caron just started using them. Hadrian Farad plays them, has been playing them for a while, and a lot of name guys are starting to play them. A lot of guys with Foderas, you know, because it really is. It's the one amplifier I think that really kind of reproduces the openness of that Fodera. I had never heard an amp do that. I've played in the studio a lot, and I've always loved the sound of my bass in the studio, but I was never really able to get that sound on stage until I played through this stuff. You know, it's such a huge difference. It's like playing with an old tube amp, a tube amp on steroids. You know.
Now, are they able to support like worldwide? That say guys start purchasing them. They on tour.
Yeah.
So if something go wrong, will they be able to support?
Oh yeah, they do.
Okay.
They've been great for me. They supply equipment in places around the world that I wouldn't believe would even have it. You know? and I walk into the venue for the sound check, and there's a Mark Bass system there for me. So they've been their artist relations over there is just amazing. And they really, you know, the thing is they really want the guys, you know. The guy, you know, I've always said, you know, it's a handshake, because, you know, I have agreed to play the stuff, you know, and they have agreed to supply the stuff for me, you know, and not to mention the fact that I have my own rig at home and all that, but they really believe in that kind of thing. They really believe in that relationship with the player.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Which has been great, and they're all. It's like a big family.
Oh yeah,
they're terrific people. Just as Fodera.
Yeah, I was gonna say, give a shout out to Vinny and Joe.
Oh man.
So y'all go way back.
Way back. I started with them in mid 1984.
1984.
I walked into their little shop in Brooklyn.
Right.
On Kings Highway in Brooklyn, and walked in, and I saw this little tiny shop and these bases, these weird bases I'd never seen before, hanging around on the wall, and trees in the back, that they would actually cut the wood from.
Right.
With the bark on it, I mean, it was really, it was the real deal. And I remember, well, the story of the bass is I was at a NAMM show, and I was playing with Bill Connors at the time, the guitar player, and Dave was playing drums. Oddly enough, we had a trio for a while, and I had been playing an old Fender Jazz bass, and I really dug it. But I had heard Anthony Jackson, and I heard the low B string. I heard Anthony. I was blown away by Anthony anyway. But the low B string just took my breath away. I loved that. So I was on. I had to get one. And I talked to Bill's manager, who said, well, if you find one you like, I'll speak to the company. We'll see what we can do. So I went to the NAMM show, and I must have played 150 basses. And there was something, about each one. There were great instruments. There's something about them that just didn't really connect with me. And as I was leaving the show, the Foderas had a little booth, right by the exit door. And as I'm walking out, I see this 5-string sitting there, with soap bar pickups, like a jazz setup, I thought, man, I got to try it, my fingers are hurting, but I got to try this thing, And I walked up, and it was Joey Laricella, one of the two, the two guys, and he, I told him that I played with Bill Connors, and I said, man, I just love to try out the bass. He said, try it out, yeah, sit down, plugged it in, and boom, when I played it, it felt like, an extension of my arm, on both sides. There was something that resonated in the sound of the instrument, and that was before I even plugged the thing in. It just felt, it had that powerful, musical feel. So many basses and so many amplifiers as well feel like equipment, but it's the rare few that actually feel like they're a part of you. Where you feel like you're really connecting with that instrument. There's a soulfulness that happens, with that. And I remember just feeling that with the Fodera bass, and then I plugged it in, and I was blown away.
That was it.
And I told him, I said, I'm playing with Bill Connors. I said, I'd love for you guys to come up and hear what I do, because I'm really interested in what you guys do. And I invited them to a gig, on the Upper West Side of New York, a couple of days later. That was happening a couple of days later. So I was playing with Bill and Dave at a club called McKell's up on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And I'm playing along, and all of a sudden I see these guys walk in, and they have a bass with them. They have a case with them. And they sat down, and we played the first set, and then I went out and talked to him on the break, and they said, yeah, we thought maybe you'd dig playing this bass a little bit more, and they pulled it out, and it was the one I'd played.
Oh yeah.
And they said, yeah, so you play the second set with that, and then at the end of the night, you just take that one home with you. If you dig it, you take it home with you, and we'll consider that our agreement.
Oh.
And that's the way they've always been with me. I really believe that the people that make the instrument have a lot to do with how the instrument's going to respond to someone else. And these guys are just, Vinny is such a craftsman, and Joey is just he's a great businessman, but he's, like I said, it's a very heartfelt thing with the artists as well as the people, the normal consumer. And I know a lot of people that have bought the instruments, and everybody is, is just You know, can't believe how happy they were when they get it.
Now, was Danette there at the time?
Danette was there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I want to send a shout out to Danette, y'all.
Hey, me too, Danette.
Danette always got my back, y'all.
She's great.
But yeah, y'all, this Tom Kennedy once again hanging out with us. Appreciate him giving me the interview. We're going to roll up out of here so he can do what he got to do, y'all. So, Jross-tv, 10 million. We out. Peace.
Peace.